Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Member Showcase. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Omar El Sabh. Omar hasn't got just one certification with the DMI, but is actually the holder of 2 DMI certifications. He is also a CPD holder and has the designations CDMP and CDMM, which means that he has a certified digital marketing professional and a certified digital marketing master. Omar is also the founder and managing partner of Ripplemark Egypt. This is a Cairo-based agency that thrives on learning, and I'm delighted to have Omar with us here today. So thank you for joining us, Omar. So Omar, to kick things off, can you tell me a little bit about your career in digital marketing? Did you fall into digital marketing, or is it something you always knew you wanted to get involved in?
Honestly, no, not at all. I didn't do much in digital before at all. I didn't even touch marketing as a career choice. Social media management was just something I've been doing on a freelance basis because I was just a good communicator. I never really thought about making marketing a career choice because I studied. I was a humanities boy in university, so I had very different plans on doing a postgraduate and becoming a academic in the humanities, but like for financial issues and reasons, I couldn't continue. So I fell into social media management as a side hustle, sort of like just the hustle mentality made me just take on some clients, manage their social media accounts, whatnot. And falling into digital marketing was just an extension of this of my personality as a curious person. I don't really like to do things half-half, so I sort of went very deep into like the theory of it. I was like, okay, this might be something interesting. I love managing the aspect that's intangible, that's qualitative, but maybe there's a lot more that can be done, like in terms of like understanding what this field actually looks like. That's how I fell into it. And I looked at agency owners. I remember seeing this webinar by this 22-year-old agency owner. I was like, why can't I do that? I'm horrible at taking orders. I have a penchant for all things nerdy and intellectual, and I'm stubborn as hell. So I really don't want to work for anyone. I want to work for myself. And the extension of learning digital marketing came after that, but the decision primarily to like shift to just like work with digital marketing was through social media management, which is the simplest channel, if I may say, in digital marketing. Yeah, that's in a nutshell, that's how it happened.
And tell me, obviously, I did happen, as I mentioned before, once upon a time, visit Egyptian shores and got to do the usual touristy stuff of visiting the pyramids and the Sphinx and all the museums and stuff like that.
Yeah, we talked about when you're going to come next time.
Yeah, exactly. I collected my papyrus paper. I still have it somewhere. But what I really want to know today is, tell me a little bit about the digital marketing landscape in Egypt. What's it like in Cairo?
That's something I've been writing about a lot. In a nutshell, I'm just going to say in a nutshell, of course, anyone that sees this showcase or this video, if you just Google my name and Ripplemark Egypt, you'll find a lot of like articles that I published on the future of digital marketing in Egypt, the current state of digital marketing in Egypt. I've been writing about the state of digital marketing in Egypt since 2018, since I had enough weight intellectually to be able to say some sweeping statements without being too cocky, because I never worked in an agency before Ripplemark. I never worked in a corporate before Ripplemark. I've never done anything before Ripplemark that was of value. I was doing rinky-dinky sort of, jobs on the side and doing events. I wasn't really like interested in work. I wasn't interested in work as far as not being able to be an academic, because I wanted to be an academic and I just couldn't, and financially and whatever, and it was just some pressure. So I had to go into any job I could take. But when I found marketing and digital marketing as a calling, and it became clear to me that this is what I want to do. I loved the theoretical side. I loved the intellectual side. I loved the practical side of it. So talking about the digital marketing in Egypt with the experience of someone who has much more experience than me is not really something I had enough courage to do, because again, it's one thing to know technically what you can do as a digital marketing. It's another thing entirely to have spent 10 years in the field, knowing every single agency, knowing who are the big players, knowing the best in the field, So as I grew in my role, as I grew as a reader, as a leader, as an intellectual, as whatever, I started being able to form these opinions. And in Egypt, back in 2015, when we opened RippleMark, the digital marketing field was still, in its infancy. Agencies were mostly focused on media content production for social media, PR, advertising, the impression-based marketing sort of things. There was almost no player in the agency landscape delivering full funnel performance and digital marketing. So there was none. And I looked at this landscape. I was like, this is going to be the future here, because now back then we were stuck in this content production sort of advertising level of digital delivery, digital enablement, and looking at the West. And because this is a rule, by the way, by a rule of thumb, is that we are behind the West. Egypt is behind the West by 4 to 5 years, because the adoption of Internet 2.0 in Egypt happened not even by the wide majority of the population. I'm talking like wide-scale penetration of internet, wide-scale penetration of social media, Facebook, all of these things. The adoption of all of these platforms is a very recent development, and it's 5 to 4 years after the West. So like we're talking about with Facebook and Twitter and all these things were brought into the sort of like, the psyche of people in the West by 2008, 2007. Facebook was established 2006, 2008, 2000. It was already like most people they had Facebook. Egypt was 4 years later. We're talking about the revolution in Egypt, 2011. That's when like Facebook actually was a big contributor to the revolution happening and whatnot. So digital marketing as a whole, as an industry, is behind by 4 to 5 years. So when I looked at the West and I was like, oh, okay, this is full funnel performance marketing. This is what they're doing over there. They're looking at actual digital in a whole other way, and complete performance. They want measurement-based people. They want people who speak the language of analytics. They want the people who speak the language of data. So I was like, okay, we're going to focus our entire service offering on this. Even if we don't know it, we're going to learn it. And actually, this is a good segue into what the DMI did to me in terms of understanding what enablement means, actually. So yeah, much more. I rant a lot more about this in my. I can talk for an hour about this subject, but like just keep it short.
Do you know what I think is really interesting, Omar, about this topic and about hearing you speak so passionately about it, is not only hearing the difference in the digital marketing landscape in Egypt, but as well as that, really, that it was the build-up of your academia and also the building up of your profile as well within Cairo that give you the confidence and the authenticity to actually speak out about the digital marketing landscape as well, and say, this is the challenges, but this is the possibilities that exist here as well.
Exactly.
And so I think it's really interesting and fascinating to hear about the difference there, and great to see and hear from somebody that's so passionate about being at the center of developing it as well. Let's piggyback off that passion that you were talking about there, and also about what motivated you at the start of your career. So what was the the motivation that kind of carved out where you've got to today?
There was a lot of things, honestly. My personal life wasn't in the best of shapes. Back then, I had no experience in any proper company except for event management. And that's not really a structured sort of career choice. Beginning in general, my aspirations of becoming an academic were down the drain. I was down and out financially. And honestly, there were two people in my life that really pushed me to realize the potential I have in being a good communicator and a good person to work with, because I constantly push myself. I constantly want to be helpful. I want to be ahead of whatever you're asking me. I feel a lot of guilt when I don't do something proper. So this is a quality that you like to work with, or a lot of people do like to work with. I have a lot of bad qualities. I'm going to talk about these, don't worry. But like my, and actually this is what I consider myself. I'm an above average communicator, but I'm a very average person intelligence wise, but I communicate extensively, and I know how to, and I love to deliver rhetoric properly. I love to say something, and I don't want to be missed on a single point. It colors everything in my life. So these two people really pushed me to opening my own company. There was when I was freelancing social media, my roommate, who is my CEO right now, our CEO, Mohammed Hamouda, and one of my best friends who gave me an account to manage in the US, in the States. And I had to learn a lot about the most competitive auction system in the world when it comes to media buying, which is Facebook in the US. Super competitive, super high CPCs, you have to be really, really, really on the mark and targeting all that stuff. That was my beginning entrance into super technical or above my technical capabilities. So I had to read a lot, and I had to watch a lot of webinars and watch a lot of tutorials and whatnot. And Ripplemark was born out of this. This was my motivation to start Ripplemark. It was to be captain of my own, ship or what have you.
What I've taken from that is you recognized your strengths and your weaknesses. Your strengths being, that you work better, taking the lead and owning it, and that you're a good communicator.
You're never doing something on your own. That's for sure. That's 100%. And if you think you're doing something on your own, you're delusional, or your ego is just way too big and it needs to be turned down a notch. But at every single juncture of my life, especially in doing Ripplemark, I am really not alone. Ultimately, you are the product of your entire surroundings.
Mm-hmm. I suppose I'm going to digress a little bit. I know we were going to talk about it a bit later on, but I think this is actually a good segue into, you've built a team there at Ripplemark. So I suppose, can you tell me a little bit about your leadership style?
I think it shifts as the company grows. Before, I used to micromanage a lot because I was bootstrapping, or me and my partner were bootstrapping this company. We didn't put any money in this company. We just put the fees to establish the company legally. And we never, ever, ever injected any money into this company. We made it all happen through the just revenue base, putting it back in the company, not taking salaries, not taking profits, not taking anything for a long, long time. So I had to be there on every single front, between getting clients, creating the service level offering, creating some sort of structure. You're not really structured when you're 4 people or 3 people and you don't know what the hell you're doing. You're winging it. So I was micromanaging everything. My style of leadership was very frantic before. I'm not the most calm-headed person at all. I'm very emotional. I've got a lot of things running. I've learned to tame the shrew and tame myself, but at the same time, that was not me before. And I've grown a lot as a manager, as a leader, and through the learnings of my partner, my CEO, who is 4 years older than me. He has been working for RSM International, which is the 6th largest management consulting company in the world. and he knows how to run a company. He understands. So he was always there by my side telling me, no, you can't do it this way. You can't talk to people this way. You can't do this way. You have to have this way. Don't write over XYZ, do this. So I had so much guidance from my partner, and also his father, who was a brilliant human being. He's a PhD in tax. So I had guidance in the beginning, but I was a very young, frantic leader, if I can say that. Mm-hmm. As I grew with time, I've learned to let things go. I've learned to build trust in my relationships with my ripplers. That's what we call each other. We don't call them people. We don't call them employees. We call them ripplers. I guess I'm a vulnerable leader. I come from a non-managerial or leadership background. The only thing I know is that I have so much to improve all the time. And I honestly know that it never stops. And it's because of my team that I've been able to evolve through them, actually, like through how I've allowed people to tell me, not allowed because it's not about allowing them, if I could say this a bit different, how I've let my door open to be criticized. And I used to not take criticism properly before, and just changing through this constant idea of self-improvement. Well, YouTube honestly is the most amazing platform, I think, in our time, because it demands a long attention span. It's not like Facebook or Instagram where it's just like mindless scrolling through whatever. YouTube has a certain buy-in, and it taught me so much, plus my people and plus my people, plus my CEO, plus just taking it all in and knowing that you are really, really, really able to improve every single aspect of your personality and your character at work or in life or in general. That to me is my style of leadership. It's this vulnerable sort of understanding that everything changes miles per minute, especially in our field. And if I'm going to talk from an intellectual side and learning digital marketing, well, yeah, that's easy compared to having to develop yourself as a leader that's not really a leader inside, with imposter syndrome, with all of these things. You're constantly trying to make yourself better, and it's a scary process. Yeah. Definitely.
So I think that's a very honest, I suppose, look and reflection of your role as a leader within your own organization, regardless of your role, your position, or your longevity, is that you need to stay open-minded, be open to new ideas, and welcome opinions, and as well as that, to be adaptable and to be flexible as well. So Omar, tell me, what do you think is the true sign of leadership?
One of the biggest things I adore following everywhere, it's in my whether it's podcasts or listening or reading or whatever, leadership has been one of the most salient themes in my career as far as Ripplemark goes. Far from learning it just from picking up on certain things and that, but like I wrote down something a while ago about leadership, and it was from a podcast. It's this author called there's so many authors on leadership, and I've read all of their books, like John Maxwell, Jim Collins, Good to Great, Jocko Willink, Extreme Ownership. But one of the most amazing quotes, and I have it right there, it was basically, you can't grow yourself without knowing yourself. Self-awareness is overrated. Allowing other people to help your self-awareness is true leadership. Most leaders don't develop leaders, they develop followers, and that is not true leadership. Mm-hmm. So that's John Maxwell. It's exactly that. People, I don't want to ever be this person that's creating followers. I want people to be their own leaders, and that's what I say all the time. Anytime we're in a town hall meet or we're doing anything about leadership, it's enabling people to be leaders. And also Jim Collins, Good to Great, one of my favorite books. There's this concept called level 5 leadership. It's basically they're quiet hard workers. I'm not quiet, but I am a hard worker. Um, so they don't do these one-off acts of heroism. Like they share praise. They take all the blame. They don't let their temper out, even though I do sometimes, or I used to be accused of that before. But thank God, I've found out where my triggers are in life. So that was a journey. And yeah, you can find this extreme ownership mentality. This is incidentally the book by Jocko Willink, an ex-US Navy SEAL, who talks a lot about how to be a true leader, and he actually like consults for so many business leaders. But yeah, it's everywhere in great leaders. They're not in it for the show. They're not in it for the pageantry. They're in it for their people. They're in it to protect their people. And one of the things that I ask anyone coming to work here at Ripplemark is, are you willing to help someone next to you before you help yourself? Mm-hmm. That's it. It's if someone falls short of something, you're there for him. If before you're there for yourself, that's having a culture of leaders. And that's what I've taken from all the great leadership authors, because it's a science. It's an art and a science, and there's a lot of data on it. It's anything you want to improve in, you'll find the literature. Just go read it.
Yeah, I agree. Earlier this year, we had a lady called Orlin Nugent, who comes from an educational background, and she was joined by a gentleman called Declan Power, and he comes from a military background, not unlike your Navy SEAL reference. And they spoke about leadership and really broke it down. But one thing that I suppose really resonated with me, and it's something that's been around forever, which is leadership balcony versus dance floor. And actually, you know, the sign of a true leader is being able to recognize where you need to be. Sometimes you need to be down in the thick of it, down on the dance floor and understanding. And then sometimes you actually need to stand back and take more of a peripheral view of what's going on and stand up in the balcony and take a look of it. But like, there's so many different, like so many strong leaders out there and so many means and styles of strong leadership as well. So I suppose you need to adapt and look to find the method that best suits you, and you found yours.
Honestly, I never use finality sort of. I haven't found anything, honestly, Carol. Like I swear to you, I sleep at night thinking, oh my God, I have so much to do and improve, and I don't know anything. And I'm like, no, like I'm still 30. I still have so much to give, you know, like, and I know that I don't know, like, you know, I know that I don't know. It's very simple. I really don't know. I'm trying to know, and that's where you become an expert at something. That's why you do a PhD. That's why you try to get out of the Dunning-Kruger, you know, sort of that slope, you know, into like having more confidence as an expert. But like for a long time, your confidence is really low, and your expertise level is still improving. And it's actually like a really cool curve called Dunning-Kruger curve. People who are really bad at something usually think they're really good at it. It's a crazy concept. Why there are so many incompetent leaders who are at the heads of so many organizations, and they don't know that they don't know.
It's like the imposter syndrome in reverse.
They think they know.
I think since we're on kind of the area of knowing what you don't know and not knowing the path ahead, shall we say, I suppose I'd be interested to find out from you. Obviously, you had whenever you started out in your career, a certain maybe idea or perception of what your goals and what your career would be. And I would be interested to hear how those goals and perspectives have evolved and changed as you've grown yourself and your business.
I studied next to managing Ripplemark for almost the entire duration of Ripplemark's existence. And the more I learned, the more I realized everything I don't know and want to keep on knowing. It's very simple. The DMI and this outward looking, this curiosity, this outward looking at things, not inward, like not being like, okay, I know something, I'm just going to stick with it, do it so well, get better at it, and just phase out everything else. That is the worst quality in a professional of this age, in this age of data and AI and everything. This is the worst quality. This is what creates most of the problems in, like in areas where workers feel that the globalization has just swept them away. Like that's why people vote for Trump or they vote for Brexit. It's this fear of the unknown, and this is actually a quality like that you develop in people when they come work for you. It's whatever they're working as. It's a mindset. So I guess my goals have changed as a function of the learning I received, and I realized that I want to be better technically at times. At other times, I need to be better as a leader because I wasn't a good leader at all. Again, as I said, I never learned this stuff off the bat. At others, I realized that the future of digital marketing is performance marketing and growth marketing, and being able to leverage data properly, to be able to leverage marketing automation, marketing technology. And all of these things sort of shifted. Now my goal is to be a growth marketer, so to understand how growth marketing teams function between product development and data science and data analytics and designers, UX, UI, whatever. I didn't have that goal a year and a half ago. Before my master's degree, before my thesis, I didn't have that goal. I was just trying to get better at e-commerce and performance, sort of like, from full funnel performance, from just increasing conversion rates and getting more sales for my clients, just learning, proper tag implementation, analytics and whatnot. But again, as I said, just being curious. Being curious is a thing that's what I think institutions should, or education institutions do. You're not really undergrads, masters, PhDs. I don't know if they do anything but give you this penchant for learning. Mm-hmm. And being able to learn. You're not really, I don't care if someone walks in right now and tells me I have a master's degree in digital marketing. Okay, tell me, what can you do with it? Do you know how to think about what you don't know? The frameworks you've taken, the literature you've consulted, the research, the knowledge of what is true, what is valid, even though truth, sorry if I use true, not what is valid, what is reliable, what is statistically significant. That's how you develop goals. You play on your strengths and you try as much as possible to surround yourself with the right people.
Sounds good. And what I want to move on to next is maybe looking at some of your accomplishments and some of the things that stand out in your mind as well.
Moments that have impacted me, or moments that have shifted my mindset. First time I hired someone, that was crazy because I was managing 7 accounts alone, doing their social media management entirely, from creating graphics on like these Canva type, applications, to moderating their entire community management and all that stuff, to everything, posting, scheduling. So that was to me like a big sigh of relief. Like I'd worked for 6 months on my own in like Ripple Market, and that was the deal between me and my partner. I was like, we're gonna just do everything we can do to not spend money on anything, so that we can just put money back in the company, So that was a huge moment for me, and he was actually one of the most lovely employees I've ever hired, Ripplers that has ever come into our organization. That was a really big moment for me. Huge moment, which is a negative moment actually, but it has helped me grow beyond my wildest dreams, which is the first time my partner and a peer of mine told me, you have a very condescending attitude when you talk to people, when you give orders, and I never realized it. Like, honestly, I never realized it. I thought I was just in love with the work. And you could point and say, yeah, but if you have the mentality, I have a different mentality. I'm like, okay, I'm still forming myself. I'm 26 years old. What the hell do I know? Right? Like, it's like just very simple. Like, what the hell do I know? Like this entitlement mentality, usually like it seeps into a lot of like the way we grow up as in our 20s. But like when I was back then, thank God just let my guard down. I was like, okay, I'm going to make an active, conscious choice to become a better leader. That's when I started reading so many leadership books. That's when I started to pick up the Jocko Willink, the Jim Collins, the all of these great authors who talk about leadership. That was the second moment. And I think, of course, finishing every single degree, finishing it was huge for me. I always felt a huge time. Finishing the masters, of course, just takes the cake. You know, it's like so much effort, so much work next to everything. It's just, yeah. So all the other moments to me are my people just being there every day, loving, you know, like every single one that comes into this company, trying to extend, you know, like as much knowledge and as much empathy as you can. It's a continuous, you know, like aha moments. But like, yeah, these are sort of the big three. Or
I think it's interesting that all of your standout moments in the main either center around academia or people, and how they influence you or have connected with you or touched you or been part of something that was the next stage in growth of development, either personally or with your business. And I suppose it goes back to what you said earlier about surrounding yourself with people that you trust, that can speak honestly to you and that you can hear and trust, and allow you to grow and evolve and adapt as well and strengthen. So Omar, tell me, what do you consider the main challenges that digital marketers have to overcome now?
I love this question. Of course, I think this is digital marketers across the board, like wherever you are. Understanding product development, knowing how to speak the language of product developers, website developers, or app developers. That's super important to know when you want to install this piece of code or change this feature or change this button because you did this A/B test or whatever, knowing how to talk their language. Number one. Of course, coding, you know, like there should be a course, coding for marketers, JavaScript for marketers. Super interesting, super simple course. I don't know why the hell there's not one course available anywhere about JavaScript for marketers. Like, I just need to know what does this mean? How can I put it because most of the tags and however when you install these different trackers, they're all in JavaScript. Of course, understanding basics of web pages, HTML, CSS, all these things, but like marketers have to be you can be analytically astute without this background in either data or in development in general. So like you have to know how to, because that's the start of it is what you're looking at. I'm looking at a product, I'm looking at an app, I'm looking at a website, and I have something running this app and website. I have to install things on it so that I can build my automation systems, my emails, whatever, my triggers. Then I have to analyze this data that comes in. So between learning data management or data science, of course, data science is huge, but data management, basics of data analytics, plus knowing how digital products are created, plus a little bit of coding knowledge, that's what makes you a full stack digital marketer. Now the future is in full stack. It's not, you have to, and I'm not nearly there. Like I have so much to do. Like, but the master's degree with the DMI made me know what I need to do. Like it's very simple. Even if I'm doing it, you know, I'm gonna hire people for it because I need to do other things, but I know exactly what to hire. I know how to manage the workload. I know what to look for in someone who knows what they're talking about. That's the advantage of being, and we're going to talk about that. Like being a generalist in a specialized world is super important.
I think that's probably a nice way of summing that up, really, is the fact that digital marketers now kind of need to be quite diverse and have a good breadth of knowledge on subject matters that kind of touch on the role. So, Omar, what is the most valuable piece of advice that you've been given to date?
I'm going to keep this very short because it's very simple. Because I come from a background of a lot of turbulence, and best friends of mine who don't have these sort of like neurotic sort of like personality types, or like just like, you know, like very fiery. They're like get over yourself and keep on going. Very simple. Like, do not just keep on going, no matter what. Just keep on going. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Just keep on going. And the second one is, you know, they say everyone is replaceable, or there's a company culture sort of thing that goes on, you know, like in boardroom meetings or whatever. Everyone's replaceable. We can just bring in someone different. Not everyone is replaceable. I can't stress this enough. In like new age organizations that thrive on people, you can't have this in your culture. Your culture needs to know that you're valuable. When I hire someone and I tell them you're this, and that, if by any chance it was a different leader, or I cared less, you know, or I was like, screw it, just like put everything into high gear, let them stay till the work is done. And if I was that type of person, I would have definitely kept on saying this phrase, which is said in a lot of companies: everyone is replaceable. Everyone is not replaceable. It's quite simple. If you promote this in your culture, you lose a lot of people. You lose. And I used to think that before. Honestly, I used to think that everyone is replaceable, and that was something. It was something that was promoted, you know, in a lot of company literature, and a lot of sort of like, you know, aphorisms, you know, that are said, you know, like that no one knows where they came from, but like they're complete utter BS, to be honest.
Absolutely. Skill and knowledge, and knowledge of your company and culture has an intelligible worth, as an absolute asset. And I love the fact, you know, that your most valuable advice goes back to very much something specific to you, which is single-minded determination.
It's like a one-string banjo, you know.
And now moving on to DMI and our mantra of getting our members and our students ahead of the game. I'd love to understand how the DMI certification has helped you in achieving all your aspirations and goals.
I love ahead of the game as a term, honestly, because this is truly what the DMI has done for me. It's kept me ahead of the game, ahead of my game here, at least, you know, because I have an advantage of, or I've had the advantage of starting this game when no one was starting it here. I don't think anyone is certified at my level in any digital marketers here in Egypt. I don't think there are, like, as far as the master's degree or the CDMM goes. And that was a conscious decision, and the DMI kept on ingraining this into me, like from day one, into like, you constantly need to do X, Y, Z. But honestly, it wasn't about becoming the most technically sharp person. That's not what the courses have done for me, or what the masters. It's knowing the frameworks, knowing how to think about digital marketing. Before, I think in the entire 20th century and 19th century, people people needed to be specialists. There was science and technology and all these things. We needed specialists. Now it's coming back full circle, and with AI and everything, you really need to be a generalist. You can't just be, because you're going to be replaced by AI. If you're a lawyer, you're going to be replaced by AI. So it's very simple. And I love the works of Buckminster Fuller, who's also someone who talks a lot about generalism. And to me, it's about frameworks, curiosity, being exposed to knowledge, and that's the forefront of the game. This is exactly what the DMI has done for me. It's how do you iterate, how do you integrate, how do you initiate, how did the 3I model, how do you do all of these, how do you I don't know, for example, the race marketing, race frameworks. I just frameworks couch our understanding of things into like discernible entities, like that we can make sense of, because there's so many moving parts, so many different stages. But like, if you know what a customer journey is that differs from a B2B to an app to a your stuff, you're at least inducted into like minimum requirements of digital marketing. And that's frameworks. And that's a generalist knows, I know all channels, I know how they tie in together. And again, like, if you want to talk about generalism, like I don't need to be technically great at everything. I know my technicalities. I've done my Google Analytics certifications on the side. I've done some Facebook Blueprint. I've done some Google Ads, but I don't work with them every day, and I don't need to work with them every day. I know what they're about. It's the same thing. Like, I was just listening to this podcast today with Tim Ferriss. It's Richard Koch. He's one of the biggest British investors. He invested in so many. He's really one of the most brilliant investors in the world when it comes to like recognizing a star company. And this guy has no education in numbers, zero. He's a historian. So it's not about what you can just like, go with. Of course we need technical people, but as a generalist, I can hire technical people. I can tell them, okay, I know what you're doing, I know what the outcome is, and I will be there with you on a theoretical level, but it's not something you want to do as a leader. At least I don't think there are a lot of leaders that are so deep into specialist knowledge, at least not good leaders.
Can you give me, based on your experience, some of the top tips that you may have studied and found, or else learnt through sheer will and determination?
Honestly, short of losing your mind a bunch of times, and this is I'm talking to all the emotional people in the crowd. I'm not talking to people who are sharp shooters, who just wake up in the morning, they just get stuff done. I'm not that person, and I know that there are a lot of people in the professional world who are not like that. Like, it's you don't need to be the most like cool-headed person, but you need to know your weaknesses, and you need to work on them honestly. But I will say that when I'm in high gear, and when there were no external factors in my life affecting me or whatever, I was, and I still am, a very, very disciplined mindset. I take my breaks and everything, but I know, like, okay, so the 80-20 principle, so the Pareto principle, so 20% so I look at 20% of what I can do that would get me 80% of outcome. So can I delegate this? Can I do that? This is work-wise. Extending your day. You have to wake up before people. You have to wake up 2-3 hours before anyone. Come into the office, do my readings, do my whatnot, like 2 hours before any Rippler comes into the office. Having routines, being super disciplined for like at least, like bouts of like 2 months of discipline, entire discipline, no weekends, you have no life for a bit. Then, like taking 2 weeks off or whatever, like, like not taking it easy on yourself, because it's a tug of war. It's even for people who are super emotionally balanced, it's hard. It's not, you can't just be, I know a lot of people who are emotionally balanced to the core, but they still freak out. Like, it's normal. So imagine people who aren't that emotionally balanced. It's very hard. But I loved every single, it just makes you a harder person, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose the main thing is it's adding another layer on top of what you already do to what you would already say is a very full life. That you wouldn't have any extra capacity. So it means changing up your routine and finding a new way of working and fitting it all in. Omar, so we've recognized that you've got a single-minded determinedness to get ahead. So,
not all the time.
well, most of it. So
Yeah.
where is this drive and determination going to take you next?
My goal, and the goal of, I think you come into the Ripple Mark and ask, what do you guys want to be? I think you'll hear the same thing. We want to be the McKinsey of digital marketing agencies, basically. I want to, like, I look at Ogilvy, for example, and I like what they're doing so much. I love, for example, like, what's his name? Chairman, Rory Sutherland is one of my favorite personalities in marketing, but they're still not this, they're still an advertising sort of powerhouse. They're not a digital marketing powerhouse. And being a digital marketing powerhouse means, to me, having a data, like an entire data analytics section, department, to provide growth hacking services to startups for equity, to market based on demand and purely on demand, to help the world be a better place through learning and education and knowledge. Because marketing is not just selling things; it's making our culture better. It's, if you find, like, I love Seth Godin in this area. Like, he is the most brilliant marketer in the world by far, because he's not just selling things. He comes from a very, very, very interesting background, but everything he talks about is about how to make the world a better place through people, teaching people what to do, how to think better, how to be better, and leveraging that part of our culture that goes astray when profit and profit maximization are at play. It's not forgetting that the bottom line doesn't matter if you're screwing up the world around you. It just doesn't. And that's what marketing is to us. And it is to everybody here in this company and this agency. We do this sort of get out of our shell, like, stop selling. Like, we're not, okay, that's our job. Yes, we need to make money, XYZ, but let's not lose sight of where we're going as a civilization, as a culture, and whatnot. And that is a marketer promotes these ideas. A good marketer knows how to promote good ideas. That's ultimately what a marketer is. That's where that's where we're going. That's where our aspirations and goals are, hopefully, will lead us to.
And I think whenever we spoke before, you said about, you'd very carefully named Ripple Mark as, thriving on learning, and an organization, not an agency.
Not just an agency.
Yeah, that's very much akin to that kind of growth, and very much what I see is, the devil is in the detail for you, back to the data and the statistics, and being able to validate and justify and recommend as well. Omar, what I'd love to hear is from the DMI certifications, what have you taken from them and utilized to give yourself a bit of an unfair advantage against your competitors there?
I think, as I pointed out a little bit before, but in a field that advances miles per minute, the DMI certifications have given Ripple Mark and myself a badge of recognition in Egypt. First of all, like, I think that badge from the DMI, and then the way we promote ourselves as a self-learning organization, it signals to the rest of the world that we are about continuous improvement and about continuous learning. And that's what the DMI has planted in my brain, and it's what forms the DNA of Ripple Mark. And it colors every single thing we do with every single aspect of our lives, as dealing with clients, or dealing with learning, or dealing with things we don't know. So yeah, that's a DMI implantation, surgically implanted sort.
I love that. As the person that absolutely lives and breathes professional development, love that. Okay, Omar, as we wrap up this segment, tell me an interesting fact about you.
I think I debated whether to talk about this or not, but, like, I will talk about it because it's really important that leaders, especially male leaders, in this day and age, are open about their feelings and their vulnerability. Because if you're not, you're just, I think you're promoting culture of toxic masculinity, and you're saying that men cannot be, cannot be weak emotionally or whatever, which is total and complete BS. But I've had my fair share of dealing with mental health, and it's something that has colored my vision of leadership, of people, of empathy, of everything, of improvement. And I've extended this sort of behavior to everybody around me in this company. We have mental health awareness. We talk about these things, and because mental health is not just having, being bipolar or depressed or borderline personality, any personality disorder for that matter. It's also managing your emotional states at work. It's not being burnt out. It's having a work-life balance. It's waking up and feeling happy that you're coming to work. Mental health and awareness of mental health is an important trait in any organization today. And I'm lucky that I was that person in that position and at that time. And today I'm 30, and I'm really grateful. I went through so much turbulence in my early 20s, even when opening a Ripple Mark and developing it and everything. But like, I'm definitely a sharper tool, a stronger, thicker person because of my awareness of my own whatever you want to call it. I don't want to call them deficiencies because they're not. They're actually empowering.
Omar, thank you for sharing that. It's not only very honest, but it's also very refreshing to hear somebody speak about it. But aside from that, I actually think it's very timely, because people who may have not experienced that side of their health and well-being previously, due to what 2020's thrown us and the unique way we've had to go to work from home and not see people or connect with people on a face-to-face level, may have actually evoked those feelings that they may not have experienced before. So I think it's clearly benefited you and your staff positively in bringing in a lot of the supports into the workplace as well, to facilitate and build the skills to counteract those feelings at times whenever they happen.
Exactly.
Well, Omar, thank you very much for your time today and for sharing all of your career, your experience, your time studying with DMI and where those certifications have taken you. It's been great hearing about your business and your career aspirations and where you want to grow your business, and we look forward to seeing that in the future, and hearing all about your leadership style and the lessons that you've learned along the way. So thank you very much for joining us today and participating in the member showcase.
Thank you so much, Caroline. It's been an honor, really.